Well, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm really excited to talk about the ARM Pelion Design System, and I've got Robert here with me, and he'll be jumping in to present as well. But let me get us started here. So if you know the Daft Punk song "Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger," that's really the intention that we have here of building this design system. So imagine the song, but we have quorum already, so I won't bother with that. So I'll just give you a brief intro, and then we'll jump into the design side of the design system. The design system is bigger than just visual design and things you do in Sketch or Figma. It goes all the way through to the software engineering, but we'll start with the design side um, and look at how the system impacts project management. And then into the software engineering, which I know is a topic that's near and dear to all of your hearts, and how this design system is and will continue to make your jobs easier. That's really the focus here. And then Q&A and discussions. So first of all, I know you all know what a design system is. You're probably pretty familiar with it, so I'm keeping this high level. But just to take a step back and just like explore for a second, like why actually do this? And really, it's inspired by this problem that most companies have, especially as they're starting to grow and try to scale up. If they lack coherent design guidance and dev resources, inevitably they're going to create an incoherent product experience for their users. And I have to say that's absolutely was my experience when I first joined ARM. And it took me a long time to find design resources, to find design guidance. And what I did find ultimately was not coherent, for what we were trying to do. There was some really web-centric big ARM guidance that I was able to find, an ARM design style guide. And then I was able to find some work with porticles, and I was able to kind of patch that together, but it all felt very disjointed and incoherent. And so that was really contributing to the problem. And if looking at the products that were created earlier, you can see a lack of coherence and also a lot of effort exerted to create these incoherent products. So you're not getting a suite kind of a product suite feel. So the solution there really is to go ahead and create a design system that offers a single source of truth and reusable components to enable product teams to quickly and efficiently design and build suites of products that deliver consistent experiences. And so I know you all know this, but just to kind of take the big picture of zooming out to like why we're doing this in the first place, I think is really helpful. Of course, it also supports our scale and velocity needs to be able to scale up quickly, to be able to quickly test concepts and get things to customers and get them in front of them so that they can give feedback in a really lean, fast way. So this is what design systems enable us to do. So actually, it's well stated by Arteman, where he talked about the value of a design system. Using the Pelion design system across UX, PM, and devs is absolutely essential for speed of execution and maintainability of our code base. And then he takes a deeper dive into object-oriented programming, which is a bit beyond me. But what I understand that means is that the ultimate realization of loose coupling and high cohesion, and anyone can jump in here who understands this term better than me. But what I understand this to mean is that it's a better design code that's easier to maintain. So there's minimal dependencies, and elements are grouped by functionality that do particular things. And that really is the essence of what we've created here. And so I'm looking forward to sharing more with you about this. But first, let's just take a look at overview. Design systems are used and shared and employed by the world's leading tech companies. So Google's, you all know Material Design, one of the most sophisticated design systems that's out there. Apple has done a great job with their human interface guidelines and the design resources for each specific platform. So for mobile, for desktop, for the watch, They have different design systems for each of those because they have different requirements, with different devices. You may or may not have heard of Microsoft's Fluent design system, and IBM has done a really great job with their Carbon design system. And something to appreciate about that as well is that they're also sharing their design systems, as Google is sharing with Material Design on their own platform. IBM is actually using Storybook, which you all know we're also using. And so the way that they implemented and applied their resources in Storybook was as a helpful reference for us as we were proceeding to go ahead and do the same. So on the design side of things, I imagine you've all heard of atomic design, but it bears mentioning. It's a really great system where you take atoms, the smallest components of a design element, you build them up into molecules. Those molecules then cohere in larger groups to form organisms. Then you can go ahead and create templates, which can easily be filled with content, and then pages, which give actual content is replaced with filler content. I'm sorry, the filler content is replaced with actual content. So let's take a look at how that looks. And I meant to mention as well, if you have any questions along the way, I imagine this is pretty, you're pretty familiar with this already, but if you do have any questions, stop me along the way, and happy to really have a discussion around this. So let's look at an atom, a toggle switch. So simple on, off, color and text labels are both being used as affordances to provide status alerts, which is an important heuristic requirement in UI design. So this tiniest little element here, this toggle switch, then becomes a molecule when it's added with other toggle switches with additional context provided with additional labels of like, oh, okay, use this if you want to toggle on or off the data layer showing available workspaces or physical distancing. So that molecule is then grouped together with other molecules that consist of multiple different atoms to then form an organism, like this rather complex header that we have for the at the top of our space analytics dashboard. And so you can see here lots of elements. We have tabs, we have a date range, we have a date picker, we have a user element with the drop-down menu, we have our logo element, and all of that fits together to form the master header component. And so the way that then builds out into a page is then you have multiple organisms grouped together, and the content is all grouped together, and there it forms an actual page. So you'll notice that I did skip over the template side here. So rather, because our design team is rather small, in other words, me, and so I'm not really bothering to create templates for myself. Rather, I'm just swapping in, hot swapping content as needed to build out different versions for different clients and client prospects. And you'll see what that looks like a little bit later here. But the beauty of this really is that you get to change one component and it updates everywhere. So, back to this toggle switch, if we were to decide that gray is a little bit too neutral for off, that we want to go ahead and make that a little bit more aggressive, we want to make that a red for off, I could change that one instance in Figma, that one object, and then it would populate throughout all of these. So wherever it showed off, you would see it red instead of gray. So that's the beauty of it. And so let's see how that looks. Actually, this is literally from this morning's work. So what I needed to do was I needed to provide more cues about the legend as they relate to the data layers that are shown above. So you can see here in the early, it's the previous version of the legend, which I kind of just was proceeding at high speed. And so I knew that I needed to make it better sometime. There's the better version. And you can see that it actually maps to the columns of the view data layers above as well. And so there I went in, I changed the legend, but also notice I changed the tabs, I changed the view data element as well, and I also changed the areas of interest. So I'm drawing attention to the updates made to the legend, but if you look closely, you can see the tabs are also improved. The view data molecule is also improved, and areas of interest. There's slight adjustments that are made to all those, and boom, they just deploy throughout the whole product. So I like to think of this as magic. So this is design magic in action. So you know, this is the beauty of you know, nested components, and then how they can propagate out throughout the whole system. So as we're doing this on the design side, which makes it much easier for myself, you'll also enjoy similar benefits on the develop side. So that's the high level. I didn't want to spend too much time on design, but I just wanted to give you the high level experience of that. Let's look at how this looks on project management as well. So how is this useful for project management? So I went ahead and touched in with Tanmay, you know, one of our awesome product managers / product owners, who was actually also acknowledged recently by Charlene for together with Shiv for practicing great customer centricity. So nice work, Tanmay. And so you know, here I'll just read it. So the Pelion Design System ensures that the many prototypes we create for our clients and client prospects offer a consistent and high quality experience. And this whole thing about prospecting as well is really important. You know, we have this potential opportunity with a client referred to us by ProLogic, an education client in the UK. It could be a really big deal. And so what we would need to do in order to actually land that deal is I would need to spin up a prototype for the space analytics that's drawn from the existing prototype, similar to, but then populated with their own data so that they could see how we can ingest a floor plan, which Robert's been working hard on doing, ingest a floor plan and then be able to map data layers on top of it that can be toggled on and off. So the other important point is that it ensures, as in this quote you can see, it ensures coherence with other products of the Pelion product suite, creating a distinctively Pelion product experience. And this is something that is really important as we mature as a team, and as a kind of new as we become independent from ARM. It's going to be really important for us to be really consistent, offering a consistent experience, consistent interaction design, visual design, and the like. So that is powered by design systems. So let's take a look at how that looks. So here we have two different products, but as you can see, the same basic framework. So for ARM Cambridge on the left, the large one, and then you can see on the right, we have for Dogpatch. So there's another thing to notice as well is that what I'm showing you intentionally is the ARM Cambridge. We're looking at, so there's role-based access here. So the RBAC work that's been done is very useful. So we're seeing an employee view here, and the employee by design only gets to see spaces in real time. In contrast, for Dogpatch, we're looking at the admin view. And so the admin, she has godlike powers to be able to travel through time and look at date ranges and see statistics for occupancy. Although they're different between these different roles and the permissions that they have, they're also coherent because they're basically the same component. I have the date range component just turned on and off, turning on and off different layers for different access. And so that's all very easily done with our design system, and really works a charm. Before we head over to the software engineering and Robert's part, I just wanted to see if there's any questions on the design or PM side. All right, so I'm not seeing any hands or hearing any questions. So Robert, are you ready to take it away for software engineering? I'll set it up here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, great. So let me just set it up. Thanks for turning your video on. Okay, great. So let me just set it up with a testimonial from Kevin. So Kevin says, shares that integrating the Pelion design systems is all going so smoothly, which was music to my ears. He shared that in stand-up recently. And I was like, hey, Kevin, great to hear that. Can you share a little more about that? So, and also, can you share a photo of you with your cat? Oh, and I forgot to mention the photo of, this photo of Tanmay here that we see is actually, Tanmay drew this himself. So this is in his kid's room. So I want to give him props to that. So if you didn't happen to know, Tanmay is also an awesome artist and illustrator. So as you can see here. All right. So moving back to Kevin with his cat, who I feel like we all kind of know and appreciate. It's all going so smoothly. It's been really nice to create a component straight from the storybook and boom, it matches the mockups. No custom CSS had to be done. Huge improvement. No implementation specific twiddling. Just set up a card object that I could generate for each model and slap it into the grid component and it all just works. So Robert, why don't you take it away from here?
Yeah, sure. So to set this up, I mean, we're obviously using React, but design systems can be created in a variety of frameworks. Testing is really important when you're creating a design system like this. That whole you're writing it once and then you're using it all over the organization in a lot of different apps. That can also backfire on you too if you haven't tested it very well. If you've got a bug or there's some sort of issue, well then it's all, the bug is everywhere also. So that's something that's a little bit of added pressure. The way that we're testing these components right now is with Jest. So the storybook that some of you have already encountered already, that's built with Create React App, which is like the sort of the helper foundation for a lot of our applications right now. And Create React App gives you the Jest framework that we're testing with, gives you Istanbul already to provide the coverage reporting. And we're at about 90% coverage right now. The goal is to get at 100%. So we still got a little bit of work to go. And then to actually query our components and check the output, we're using another testing framework called React Testing Library. And then we're also using a custom set of matchers provided by the Jest DOM package as well. So those are our tools that we're using to try to give us some amount of confidence that these components are working properly and they're going to work as expected when y'all try to import them into your applications.
Great. I can go to the next slide. I just want to confirm you're seeing the main testing screen, not my presentation notes, because I'm getting a weird outline around my around the other.
I'm seeing the testing slide on mine.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Okay, good. Then that's a bit of a Zoom fail, or maybe the UI. Okay, next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here we go.
Yeah. To style our components. I found that in dealing with the couple of applications that we've got right now, we're using Sass and Node Sass as a foundation. So that's what we started with. We've started to branch off on that a little bit as the requirements for the components, in particular the grid component, have gotten really complex. But yeah, we're using Sass right now. And we're doing that to just share variables, share code, make sure that things are consistent. And the idea is that if the host application has Sass already installed, the component should have what it needs to be imported and look and function correctly. So as of right now, we don't have a global style sheet or anything like that. If you import the component from the library, it has everything that it needs bundled with it. And we're using the CSS modules pattern to try to eliminate as much CSS conflicts as we can, and unexpected inheritance problems. And there's a link there. If you aren't familiar with how CSS modules works, it basically creates a unique class name for every module. So if you apply a class of, let's say, panel, it'll turn that in the final rendered output, it'll become panel component ABC123 whatever. And then so if there are other components in the host application, it's very unlikely that you're going to have bleed there with your CSS styles. that's it for that one. We can go to the next slide.
Okay, great. Props.
Yeah, and then props are super important, and it's probably the thing that requires the most tweaking as developers start to use the design system. Um, we try to not make all the props required and provide as many sensible defaults as we can, but you can't think of everything, and so it's kind of one important thing about the development process is listening to feedback, and it's important that if developers have any pain points or there's something that's not working right, that they provide that feedback, and then we can improve the system. We try to make it as flexible as we can, so the props many times will accept like strings or React markup. So in the case like headers, the cards, list items, even like tables, I can't always predict what you're going to put in there. So the ability to like add your own custom markup and pass it in as a prop is super important for making it really flexible. And as far as how to get this stuff up and running, Storybook is really the best guide. Those examples are all providing like the minimum amount of data that you're going to have to pass in to get it working. And each example has the import instructions and also the source code for creating that story as well. So everything everything that goes into creating each example is very easily inspectable. Yeah, that's probably it for that slide.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and then like I was mentioning before, updating the components, the core philosophy that I'm keeping in mind when I'm building these is that the design system is never what you would consider to be done. Like it's never finished. It's always evolving, always improving. Even if our applications were to be sort of like done with development, I mean, there's always, the business needs are always shifting. The brand identity is always shifting. We're trying to refresh, on a long enough time scale and decide we don't like this font, we want to go with another font. Always trying to expand and improve. And listening to developer feedback is the way that this thing really grows and gets better with each iteration. So we're going to try to stay ahead of development, but it doesn't always work. And so, yeah, like I said, it's important that we listen to that feedback, and super important that you feel comfortable to give that feedback. If something is lame or something doesn't work right, then yeah, feel free to tell us, and then we'll do our best to fix it. I mean, it's got to be a useful tool in order to provide any benefit. So,
Robert,
yeah.
can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
So if you are changing these components, updating them, is there a versioning system that we use?
Yes. Yeah, we have. So we have to start nailing down our versioning system. Right now, we don't have it completely fleshed out. But yeah, so the idea would be that the specific version would be in the project lock file. So updates are not done automatically. When we would release a new version, we would give it a new version number, and there'd be a change log and all that, and then it would be up to the developers working on that application to then, I guess it would be a tech debt ticket, and like update the component system to the new version, because it won't just happen. It'll keep installing the version that was applied in the lock file. So
Okay.
you have to manually upgrade. Otherwise, it'll be sort of like frozen in time at that version.
Okay. Is that version per component or the whole system?
That's the part we haven't fleshed out yet. Amir's not here, and he can't speak to that. But it's not per component. So it's the entire system has a version, and then so we've got to figure out how often do we need to release new versions. But yeah, it's basically the design system has the version number altogether.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I think that was it for for the updating
Okay.
portion.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
your
just that.
last.
Yeah, updates are not done automatically, and yeah, you do actually have to go into npm or yarn or whatever your package manager is, and then actually manually update the system, and then you'll receive the new version and all the updates to the components.
Great, awesome. So that's the content that we have prepared. So one of the things I just before we do the Q&A, just wanted to share with you, we have the key resources, so links to our wiki. I also meant to put up there our Slack channel, so we do have a design system Slack channel too. But of course, you all know how to find us directly on Slack. So we do have, so the wiki is there with info, our GitHub links, our Storybook, and also more information about atomic design if you want to dig deeper into that. So that resource is there. And also just wanted to take time to field any questions or comments or, whoa, there we go, stop. Okay, I guess it needs to show that. Or discussion.
Really, really nice presentation, guys, and it's very
Thanks,
exciting.
Thanks. I'm glad you like it, man. You know, you are, you know, you are key stakeholders that we're doing this for. And so I imagine there probably weren't any big surprises in here. But as I had mentioned, I think before the recording started, this is something where I just want us to be talking about this more, have this top of mind, have all the kind of big picture elements like really clear, because there's a billion little tiny details in all these things. And so what we're working on doing is creating, having one system that is really coherent, to provide guidance across all the products that we develop and also test. And just try to make all the complexities of that overall kind of contained in something that's really really simple and lightweight, easy to keep updated. Yeah, so